Chosen one. Sit with this message for a moment. Breathe. Open your heart. Because what you're about to hear is not coincidence. It's not random. And it's not something that reaches just anyone. This message is reaching you because heaven has been trying to tell you something for years, maybe even since your childhood. But your spirit wasn't ready to receive it until now. You didn't stumble onto this video. You were guided gently, quietly, intentionally. Why? Because heaven is finally revealing a truth about your mother, a truth that explains so much about your life, your pain, your patterns, and your purpose. A truth that will heal you. A truth that will free you. A truth that will help you understand why God raised you as the chosen one in your bloodline. Let's begin. Before you judge her, before you resent her, before you try to understand why things were the way they were, heaven needs you to know this. Your mother fought silent wars you were never meant to see. She carried battles in her spirit long before you were born. Generational weights, emotional burdens, invisible pressures. She lived in survival mode when she needed to be in healing. The world saw a woman, but heaven saw a soldier. She endured storms so you wouldn't drown in them. She absorbed energy so you wouldn't break under it. She sacrificed dreams so you could live out yours. Even if she didn't do everything perfectly. Even if she hurt you, misunderstood you, or couldn't express love the way you needed. Heaven says she did more for you spiritually than you will ever fully understand. Chosen one. Your mother wasn't weak. She was unaware. She didn't know her gifts. She didn't know her calling. She didn't know how spiritually sensitive she really was. You think you're the only one in the family who's different? No. You're the only one who awakened. She felt everything you feel. But she never learned the language of her own soul. No one taught her intuition. No one supported her sensitivity. No one guided her spiritually. So she shut those gifts down, buried them, locked them away. And when she saw your gifts appear, your sensitivity, your strength, your intuition, your calling, she didn't know what to do with it. Not out of jealousy, out of fear. Fear that you would suffer like she did. Fear that the world would not understand you. Fear that you would walk a lonely road like hers. She wasn't scared of you. She was scared for you. There are things she went through that she never told anyone. Things she endured emotionally, spiritually, mentally, that shaped her entire life. But heaven says this. You were sent to break what broke her. Every pattern she couldn't escape. Every wound she couldn't heal. Every limitation she couldn't overcome. You were born to shatter. This is why you're spiritually gifted. This is why you're sensitive. This is why you feel energies deeply. This is why your life feels heavier than the people around you. You are the curse breaker, the cycle ender, the chosen generational reformer. Everything she couldn't do, God assigned it to you. Not as a burden, but as a divine mission. Chosen one. Take a deep breath before you hear this, because what I'm about to say will free a part of your soul that has been tight for years. You came through your mother. But you did not come from your mother. Your body came from her. Your DNA came from her. Your first breath on earth entered through the doorway of her womb. But your essence, your assignment, your spirit, your anointing, your soul coding, those came directly from the throne of heaven. Your mother was the vessel. God was the source. Your mother was the portal. God was the author. Your mother carried your body. God carried your destiny. And this truth alone explains every confusion, every contradiction, every spiritual mismatch you've ever felt growing up. Because even if your mother did not fully understand you, even if she didn't nurture you the way your soul needed, even if she wounded you unintentionally, or intentionally, or out of her own unhealed pain, it's because she was never the origin of who you are. She wasn't the blueprint. She wasn't the architect. She wasn't the designer of your spiritual identity. She was asked to hold you. She was not asked to define you. Chosen one, Your spirit predates your mother. Your soul carries ancient assignments. Your calling existed before your mother ever existed. Heaven wrote your scroll before her name was ever spoken into the earth. So even if she rejected you, even if she criticized you, even if she didn't understand your sensitivity, your gifts, your visions, your depth, even if she called you dramatic or difficult or too emotional, it wasn't because something was wrong with you. It was because she didn't recognize what God placed inside you. Not because she was evil, not because she was bad, but because you came from a higher spiritual realm than the one she was operating in. Your mother carried your body, but she couldn't carry your destiny. Your mother raised your hands, but she couldn't raise your spiritual assignment. Your mother knew your childhood, but she didn't know your covenant. Your spirit did not originate in her mind, in her trauma, in her fears, in her family patterns. Your spirit originated in God's breath. Your identity originated in God's intention. Your assignment originated in God's blueprint. That is why you felt like the odd one out in your own home. That is why you felt different since childhood. That is why you knew things without being taught. That is why you felt older than your age. That is why you didn't fit into the patterns your family tried to force on you. You weren't made by them. You were made by Him. Your spirit didn't inherit their limiting beliefs. Your spirit didn't inherit their generational fears. Your spirit didn't inherit their spiritual blindness. Your spirit didn't inherit their destiny. Your spirit inherited heaven. Chosen one, hear this. Your mother delivered you into the world, but God delivered you into your calling. Your mother fed your body, but God fed your soul. Your mother carried you for 9 months, but God carried you for eternity. This is why you were protected, even in chaos. This is why you were different, even in dysfunction. This is why God whispered to you, even when you didn't have spiritual guidance at home. Because your true parent was always God. Your true direction always came from heaven. Your true identity always came from a realm your mother did not have access to. You came through her womb, but you came from God's Spirit. Your soul wasn't created from her bloodline. Your soul was sent to interrupt that bloodline. You were born into a family, but you were assigned by heaven, and those two things are not the same. So don't carry guilt for being different. Don't carry shame for wanting more. Don't carry fear for outgrowing the patterns your mother lived in. Don't carry confusion about why your spiritual hunger never matched her emotional availability. She gave you your life, but God gave you your purpose. And your purpose was always bigger than what your mother could comprehend. Not everyone can understand a child sent from heaven. Not everyone can recognize a spirit that didn't originate in their own lineage. Not everyone can guide a soul that carries a divine assignment. And that's okay. Because your journey was never meant to be defined by where you came through, but by who you came from. God is your origin. Heaven is your true home. And that is why, chosen one, you have always felt different, set apart, ancient, guided, protected, called. You weren't placed in your mother's life just to be raised. You were placed there to be delivered into the earth for a mission she may never fully understand. Because your spirit didn't come from her. It came from Him. Some of your wounds came from her. Not because she was bad, but because she was broken. She didn't always know how to love. She didn't always know how to parent. She didn't know how to give what she never received. But listen carefully. God transformed her flaws into your strength. Her silence taught you intuition. Her distance taught you resilience. Her fear taught you courage. Her emotional wounds taught you spiritual clarity. Her limitations became your breakthroughs. Her weaknesses became your superpower. You didn't grow in comfort. You grew in spiritual pressure. Because pressure makes diamonds. And you, chosen one, are the rarest gem in your bloodline. There were times she prayed for you. Times she cried for you. Times she worried about you. Times she protected you in ways you never saw. Some of her tears were not sadness. They were intercession. Some of her fears were not emotional. They were spiritual warnings. Some of her silence was not avoidance. It was exhaustion from battles she fought on your behalf. Heaven reveals this. Your mother shielded you from more than you realize. There are dangers you were never exposed to. There are attacks that never reached you. There are paths you never walked because she blocked them. There are people who never touched you because she prayed against it. She didn't always get it right. But she protected you more than you know. The qualities you admire in yourself? Your strength, your empathy, your intuition, your sensitivity, your spiritual depth. They didn't just come from nowhere. You inherited them. But you expanded them. Your mother was the seed. You became the bloom. She walked so you could run. She survived so you could thrive. She cried so you could see clearly. And heaven says, the anointing she carried silently, you carry loudly. You are her answered prayer. You are her spiritual evolution. You are the fulfillment of what she never reached. Many chosen ones have complicated relationships with their mothers. You may feel ignored, misunderstood, unseen, unloved, unprotected. But heaven wants to heal this. Your mother loved you, even if her love was wounded. She didn't have the tools. She didn't have the emotional vocabulary. She didn't have the support. She didn't have the healing she needed. But she loved you the way she knew how. And it was more powerful spiritually than you realized. Some of her love came out as fear. Some as control. Some as silence. Some as sacrifice. But it was still love. This chapter depends on your situation. For some of you, God is restoring your bond. For others, God is releasing you from emotional pain. Either way, healing is coming. Because heaven exposed this secret not to hurt you, but to heal you, to free you, to release you from resentment, to soften your heart. You are stepping into a season where the wounds of your upbringing will no longer shape your identity. You are becoming whole. This is the most powerful revelation. You are the version of her she always wished she could become. Her dreams became your destiny. Her prayers became your protection. Her pain became your purpose. Her silence became your awakening. You are not her mistake. You are her miracle. You are her evolution. You are her answered prayer. You are her legacy of light. Heaven matched her with you, and matched you with her. For divine reasons. Chosen one. Before you leave this video, I want you to sit with this truth. Not with your mind. Not with your logic. With your spirit. You were never unloved. You were never unwanted. You were never a burden. You were never forgotten. You were never a mistake. You were simply unlearned. Meaning the people around you never learned how to love someone like you. They didn't know how to love a soul with depth. They didn't know how to love a spirit with a calling. They didn't know how to love a child who wasn't born just for a family, but for a mission. You weren't too sensitive. They were too numb. You weren't too emotional. They were underdeveloped emotionally. You weren't too intense. They were too spiritually shallow to recognize your flame. You weren't too different. You were divinely designed. You weren't hard to love. They were unequipped to love someone marked by heaven. People can only love from the level of their own healing, their own awareness, their own spiritual maturity. And some of the people you grew up around never healed, never grew, never understood themselves, never connected to God the way you did. So how could they ever understand you? How could they ever comprehend a soul that didn't come from their patterns, their fears, their wounds, their generational story? They couldn't teach you love, because no one ever taught them. They couldn't protect you, because no one ever protected them. They couldn't nurture your spirit, because they didn't even know their own spirit existed. You weren't unloved. You were surrounded by people who were spiritually unequipped. Listen, chosen one. The absence of proper love does not mean the absence of your worth. The lack of affection does not mean the lack of divine intention. The absence of nurturing does not mean the absence of God's hand. Even when they didn't know how to love you, God never stopped loving you. Even when they didn't understand you, God understood every breath you took. Even when they didn't validate you, God validated every tear you shed. Even when they didn't protect you, God shielded your spirit from what your body endured. You weren't unloved. You were held by heaven in ways you didn't even realize. That's why you survived what broke others. That's why you grew through what others died in. That's why your heart is still soft, still open, still glowing, despite everything that tried to harden it. That is the proof. You were loved in ways the human eye couldn't see. You were guided in ways your mind couldn't understand. Your spirit was nourished in ways your environment couldn't offer. You weren't unloved. You were divinely taught love, directly by God. Because heaven needed you to learn love from its purest source. Not from damaged humans who barely understood themselves. Heaven needed you to know love as safety. Love as clarity. Love as wisdom. Love as discernment. Love as purpose. Heaven needed you to love differently. So you could live differently. So you could lead differently. So you could break cycles your family never could. You weren't unloved, chosen one. You were set apart. You were protected. You were preserved. You were prepared. God wasn't withholding love from you. He was reserving a higher form of love for you. A love from Him. A love through Him. A love that now flows through you. So as you walk away from this message, hear this in your deepest being. You were never unloved. You were simply in a place that never learned how to love you. But heaven did. And heaven still does. And now, you will love yourself with the same divine truth that raised you. You weren't unloved. You were unlearned. Now you are awakening. Now you are remembering. Now you are rising.